Welcome to the Qualified Business Champions mini-series again, where we highlight a recent graduate on how they create more purpose, more profit, and more productivity all around them. So today, we're going to welcome to the mini-series Stephen Price. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your you got a lot going on with your agency. And real quick, just to kind of give everybody a setup, understanding who you are, a little bit about you. What industry are you in? How long have you been in that industry? And then just give us a sense of production so that we know who we're talking to.
Okay. I am in the insurance industry. We primarily do everything except health insurance. So property, casualty, liability, et cetera, commercial. Been doing it just over 4 years. Started in April of 2015. We have continued to expand. We now have 2 locations, one in Irmo, one in Columbia, and have a great staff.
So just for clarity too, the people that are maybe watching or going to hear this outside of our geographic area, because both of us live in a similar area, Irmo, we're talking about Columbia, South Carolina. So
correct.
2 locations and in 4 years. So we'll probably get into this a little bit because some people are thinking if they know the insurance industry and the level of production it takes to run 2 locations, they're probably wondering, how did you do that in such a short period of time? So we'll probably get into some of that. Before we do too much of that, tell us a little bit about yourself, family, previous career, things that you're proud of, things like that.
Sure. Our family, we actually are from the kind of Oklahoma, Texas area. We actually went overseas, did about a 2.5 year stint doing some medical mission work in Benin, West Africa. And when we came back to the States in 2006, we landed in Irmo, South Carolina. We've been there ever since. I have been in healthcare. I've been a practicing physician's assistant, primarily in cardiology and cardiovascular type work. I have been wanting to transition out of that for 5 or 6 years or so to get into small business ownership. Got into the insurance industry starting around 2014. Finally was able to purchase a small book of business in April 2015. We have grown since. Our family has stayed in the area. Our children are now grown. We now have 4 grandkids. So we spend a lot of time with our grandchildren and our kids. A big outdoor person, everything from kind of hobby farm to hunting, fishing, the likes.
Wow. That was an excellent and probably the most concise version of tell us a little bit about yourself that anyone's given us so far.
Well, good.
Perfect. So you were basically in the healthcare industry as a physician's assistant for the greater part of your career life. Is that right?
That's right. I started that in 1990. So for almost, 29 years, basically, and just transitioned out of it in March of this year when we moved into our satellite location March 1st.
Gotcha. So just again, I'm clarifying, you were in that industry since 1990. You actually did dual career, basically. You owned an insurance business for the last 4 years, but it wasn't until recently that you actually stopped doing the other work, and now you're completely all in on just the insurance work. Is that right?
That's correct. It was 2 full-time jobs. I would come in the insurance office in the morning, usually leave around 1 or 2 o'clock, go to the hospital, stay at the hospital till 10, and then worked every other weekend from usually 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the hospital as well. And we did that, or I did that until basically March 1st. And then starting in March, I went to where now I just work 1 weekend a month at the hospital, just to really keep up my license.
Right.
But yeah, it's nice just having one full-time job.
Well, I think it's important. It's important for me to point that out, because there's a lot of people that want to get into business, and they think that the only way to do it is usually to stop whatever they're doing and, just jump full in. And yes, there's some
Right.
advantages to that. But then again, there's a lot of people that really have to work on a transition plan from one career into another one if you're going to do it at a large scale. So
You're correct.
you did it took you 4 years to finally make that move. And I guess it was the purchase of the second location that kind of pushed the needle for you.
It was. The initial plan was at 2 years. We were hoping to be able to do that, but we were not able to at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So an additional 2 years, then we had this opportunity actually started formulating in August of last year. And it took us until March 1st to close the deal. But that clearly gave us the opportunity for me to kind of step off of that platform and
Mm-hmm.
put both feet in the insurance platform.
Excellent. Well, one of the reasons you're on this particular call is because you were part of one of the most recent Qualified Champions Masterminds that we had done. And in that program, everybody gets to share something that they're really, really good at. And I know, I think you were not able to be there to actually teach everyone, but this is an opportunity for you maybe to touch on what your subject was going to be, and then tell everybody, just give us like a 1, 2, 3 kind of flyover of your topic. Do you remember?
I do. The main thing was really I have been a workaholic most of my life, and just trying to switch from that mindset to I don't have to work that hard to prove anything to anybody. And that's a long conversation, but I've always kind of been geared that way, to work as much as I can, and not necessarily for the financial part of it, though that was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted security for my family. I wanted to be able to do things for my kids and grandkids. But I also had the mentality that for me to be a valued asset, then I had to really work hard and long hours to get that fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically had a paradigm shift in my thinking that that's not true. And that was a difficult transition. I'm still sometimes struggling with that, because now I work basically 8 to 5, though I will come in the office early to
Mm-hmm.
feel as though I got to get things done. So I might be here at 6:30 or 7 and have a little quiet time to get the day going, but I'm not working the 15 or 18 hours a day that I've been used to in the past.
So you feel like you're having withdrawals?
It's been a transition. It was difficult to make that change, and it was. I know that every time in the past when I'd gone on vacation, it would take me 2 or 3 days to come down from where I was at work, and then unfortunately a day or two before I started back to work, the last couple of days of the vacation, I would already be ramping up mentally
Mm-hmm.
to get prepared for work again. So it was only 2 or 3 days there in the middle of the vacation typically that I actually enjoyed myself. So
I would imagine if I polled the group that's going to hear this or is listening to this right now, there's probably going to be a lot of people that have a similar sentiment and can basically, you're not alone, Steve. So curiosity, one, can you actually point out or find a specific time or time frame that you had that paradigm shift you were just referring to?
I think towards the end of last year, 2018, when this opportunity came up for me to purchase a satellite office,
Mm-hmm.
it was, okay, Steve, you've actually got this opportunity to get out of this career that was starting to take its toll on my health. has certainly taken its toll on my family for the last 30 years because of the amount of time away from home that I was.
Sure.
And it really was just a wake-up call that, are you going to do this or not? If you're going to, then you've got to completely make the break, and not going from one 80-hour, 90-hour-a-week job to another 80 or 90-hour-a-week job, but from an 80, 90-hour-a-week job to a 45 or 50-hour-a-week job. And a job that had its own type of stress to better managing whatever stress comes with the new job. And that's been a bit of a shift. It was totally different types of stress in the healthcare than it is in running your own business.
Sure.
Before, obviously, I didn't have to worry about payroll and taxes and hiring and firing people and keeping a good staff and keeping them motivated and looking at all the behind the scenes admin data. Whereas now now that I have transitioned from that job, but it's been difficult to learn how to manage the new stress in a way that's still productive. And you've clearly have helped a lot in that process. I think the mastermind group has been a godsend for me in opening my eyes and, take care of what's important, what's the one thing that I need to do today that's going to make a difference. Get away from making all these lists of these mostly trivial things that don't need to be done or should be delegated to someone else to be done, and that I don't have to worry about them. And that's been a challenge for me, but it works when I implement it.
Well, and we're going to get a little bit more into the mastermind and what you got out of it in just a minute. But let me back up for a second, because the original question, of course, was about the paradigm shift and when it happened. Let me kind of wrap it up put a little bow on it. What I heard you say, and you can correct me, of course, if this isn't what I heard. There was a combination of both the pain of 30 years and the toll it had taken in your life, and the opportunity that was in front of you with the new business opportunity. Both of those kind of collided all at one particular time frame, and you then were presented with a decision. Does that sound right?
That's correct. Because I had the confidence and I could still get a paycheck if I was willing to suffer through what I had stayed in. But then there was the sense of the unknown, because it was dependent on my productivity, my staff's productivity, making sure I provided them with all the tools and everything they needed. So there was a bit of an unknown there that I had not experienced before.
Gotcha. So if you were just going to tell someone listening to this, let's say we've got somebody listening and they're thinking about making a career move, or they're still in the middle of a transition, something like that. Can you think of maybe a couple of bullet points or steps that they should take to help make that move, make it more smooth?
For me, I think the big thing is, if you're not seeing progress where you're at, and by that, it doesn't necessarily mean financial, but it could be your health, your relationships, your happiness, your fulfillment that you're finding in life. If you're not seeing any progress in that, then it's time to make a move. I think that was the big thing for me. My wife kept putting it to me that way of, where are you making progress in staying where you're at? And that was one thing that really helped. Yeah, I was getting a paycheck, but everything else around me was kind of falling apart and deteriorating rapidly. And so once that really sunk in and I saw that and was able to step back and look at it, then to me it was a no-brainer.
I understand. So somebody should probably then assess somewhat of what's going on around their life And in the coaching world, the world that I'm in, we usually call that an ecology check. I think I've even used that word with you before.
Yes.
An ecology check, meaning let's find an area of your life, or let's look at, if we're going to change this part of your life, how's it going to impact everything else? And I guess if somebody's making a transition, that's definitely a piece of the conversation, because you're going to have a lot of support when you make a move like you just did. And you also pointed out it took you 2 more years than you thought it would to make the transition complete in the process. So now that you're a business owner, you're all in since March, which isn't that long, because right now we're basically at the end of May when we record this. You've been up to your elbows in everything, adjusting, and I don't know how much we want to really get into, but I know that now you are so embedded in it that you can see everything that's necessary. You've pulled the trigger on a lot of big things. You've made some changes on small things that may impacts the bigger picture. I don't really want to necessarily unload all of that, but maybe you can tie it into what were some of the takeaways you had gotten from the mastermind that you went and immediately utilized.
The one area that I recall back is where you did the 4 quadrants, the have, the don't have, the want, and the don't want.
The resource assessment. Yep.
Yes. There were some things that seeing that illustrated really brought to mind clearly of some things that I have that I don't want. And then also the have and want, the things that I've already got, and how to use those resources more wisely. So that for me, whether it was staffing, whether it was, some ways we were doing our prospecting at the time, customer retention, we had things in our possession, but that brought to light how to better utilize and how to tap into that, what we already had. And then also, again, shedding light on some things that were, I wouldn't say necessarily toxic to the environment, but certainly not healthy for the environment we were in, that we needed to get rid of.
So Steve, I'm going to go ahead and just bring it up, because I think this is important. It's one of the hardest things for business owners is managing, hiring, firing, basically human resources or human capital management. And I know that very recently you had wrestled with a particular team member that you had to eventually, you just made the decision to let them go. You are such a kind individual. You have a hard time just saying it like it is. I'm just letting everyone know that you stepped up and took care of some of the toxicity within one of your locations.
We did, and I appreciate that. It's never, for me personally, I've never taken joy in having to fire someone unless they just did something so blatantly unethical or crooked, or something in that. Seems like there's a little pleasure in getting rid of someone like that. But people that, if their situation is already kind of difficult, but yet it's not a good fit, it's not going to work out, and things on their side are never going to change, then for me it's a little more difficult. Plus you put your own team, or I think, and I may be putting my own team under a little more stress now that position's gone. But that was not the case. It was much better within literally hours after making the decision to go ahead and move forward. And it's not been near the disruptive event that I made up in my mind that it would be by not having that extra person in the office to answer the phone. We've been able to compensate for that easily without any really hitches at all.
Yeah, the toxicity, that was a good word for it, because the energy of what you're looking to build, this particular person didn't line up with that vision. So you had to make a decision, you made it. And of course, like we all do, we tend to make the picture bigger. We tend to intensify what the problem could be. And then after we're done with it, it just suddenly we realize, well, maybe I should have done it sooner.
Exactly.
So that was one thing you took away, and that was during the resource assessment piece. You identified that was one thing. Of course, I know you implemented a lot of other things. Can you give us any other stories that maybe you utilized that you took out of the program and immediately applied to your business?
I can't remember the exact title you gave it, but it was in the learning is by doing with the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
That was very helpful in explaining that to the staff. How you explained how the foundation is the tools, and I think you talked about you had heard or sat in on a conversation with Nick Saban in coaching, and it all comes down to the fundamentals. And all the great coaches talk about the basics, the fundamentals, the foundation. Making sure that the team is in top physical condition. And then they ask the coach, well, come on, we need to get out here and shoot the ball, and we need to run the plays. And come to find out, it's the team that has the strongest fundamentals and understands the basic tools the best that are the teams that are the champions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think once I understood that and the way you presented it in a way that I could visually see it, made much more sense. And for our industry, learning the lingo, getting your license, understanding the day-to-day jargon for insurance, that's kind of the basic fundamentals. But the way you learn it is just picking up the phone, calling people, and okay, that phone call didn't go too right or too well. This is what I'll do next time. And okay, well, that one went a little better, but I can do better next time. So it's just that repetitive motion, and individuals being aware that, okay, I can do it a little better this time. And before they know it, then they've mastered the tools. Mm-hmm. And then you start getting into the conditioning and the speed, and then the accuracy finally comes basically last. And we try to put accuracy first. No, you got to get the quote. You got to get the conversation exactly right. Then we'll start doing more. But I had a complete change in my mentality in the way that we do things. And it's like, look, it's okay if you make a mistake. Just keep making the calls. Keep making the connections. Keep talking to these people. Keep having the conversations. Recognizing where you can smooth it out a little bit here and there. And I've used that analogy you've given so many times already about the pottery class. Mm-hmm. About the final exam. That was just great. I mean, that's such a visual image in my head. And it has really helped me to convey the importance of just take the step, just make the phone call, just keep doing it, and then repeat it, and then recognize what you need to work on, and then do it again. And that's, to me, the quickest and best way to make professionals, whether you're in sales, whether you're in service, retail, whatever it is, just don't worry about those little mistakes. Just learn from them and keep, like you say, keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love it. So, you're referring to a model that I created when I was working in a large national real estate brokerage. I worked with a lot of brand new agents, and they, as salespeople, we have a habit of focusing very heavily on getting it right. And if I can get it right, then I can speed up and go faster. And if I can go faster, I can then outpace my opponents or do more than my competition, if you will. And then if I do that, I can pay for whatever tools and systems I want to get. And it's invariably, the truth is the other way around, which is what you're referring to. Set the foundation, get the tools, understand the basics. Then you're going to have to outpace through conditioning everybody, being able to have the emotional fortitude to keep moving forward no matter what. And then we work on speed, i.e. in a sales environment, we're talking about being able to close for the appointment or close for the quote in your world, get that next step. And then we work on accuracy. And that's where we really refine and make it to where it's with extremely, it's what makes professional sports people make it look easy.
Right.
Accuracy.
Right.
You watch somebody play golf and they just, you're going, how do they do that? The accuracy doesn't come until they learn how to tee it up and hit it straight,
Exactly.
So, but anyway, yeah, that is always a very powerful thing. And so you went back to your team and started using some of that philosophy, if you will. How was that received, by the way?
It was actually received very well. And I think they took it as a lot of encouragement, because I think most people are geared, whether it's through school or previous jobs or career, that I've got to get it right before I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to make sure I master it before I make that first phone call or try to do that first sales pitch. And when it was almost liberating for them to understand that, oh, I don't have to be perfect on the first 10 phone calls I make. And it's like, no, you don't. Just start making the call, start making the connection, and you will learn yourself where you need to polish it, instead of me or my sales manager saying, no, here, let's do it this way, here, memorize this script and get it perfect. It's much easier just to jump in and start doing it, and you see that those areas that you need to refine as you go, but you're making progress every time you take a step forward.
Right. Well, I don't want to jump on a tangent, but I will tell you, in today's society, the people that are the most valuable to the marketplace are the ones that can actually learn quickly. And so if you follow this model and you know how to learn quickly, meaning following your own feedback, which one of the tenets of the qualified champion is, in fact, flexibility. If you can learn rapidly, very quickly, then you can adjust very quickly, which will allow you to outpace just about anybody who spends 4 years getting themselves ready, when in 4 years the entire market could change itself on how it's done.
Exactly.
In today's society, at least. So we got to run at a very high pace. So let me back up even further. So what drew you to the mastermind? I think it was a personal conversation, and I know you were referred, but what actually, because you could have said, no, I'd rather not. What drew you to the mastermind personally?
I knew that there were still things I was struggling of how to be a good business owner, and I needed to become a better business owner as soon as I could. And what things I needed some guidance as to what things do I need to get rid of, or what things do I need to not worry about, and what are the things that I need to focus on. And I needed some mentoring to help see that, I guess for me, see the big picture more clearly as my role as a business owner, but also to be able to see some of those smaller things, but yet put them in the right place. And to me, it was all just kind of a collage of these things, where they were all together and I was responsible for all of them. And the appeal to me was, hey, if I can get somebody that understands this already, they can help me clean up my collage to where, instead of just a bunch of, designs and colors thrown on a canvas, it actually is a defined picture. And I am in the process of that picture becoming much more defined.
I like it. So what kind of people would you think would be a good fit to attending the Business Mastermind then?
I think anybody that if they already have the mentality that they're a pretty good business person, then how can they if they want to reach their goals quicker, I think this would be a great opportunity. If they're a business owner that has just enough humility to say, I I really don't have all this figured out. I really need to have a better understanding of my role and how I can guide my team better. They're also the people that need to be in this. So even though there are business owners out there that I know do a great job, it's like, well, if your goal is X in 2 years, why not hit that goal in 1 year?
Yeah.
And if somebody could show you how to do that, why not go ahead and start doing it? Why wait 2 years when you can do it in 1? Or set a bigger goal for 2 years?
Yeah, we've seen that happen multiple times in different ways. That's what happens when you get the mindset and the mechanics and you marry the two together. It comes together really well.
Yeah.
So what did you wish you knew, or how do you feel like you could be better prepared before you would have come?
That's probably the toughest question. Been better prepared before I came.
Is there anything you wish you would have known before you came in that you, like, let's say somebody's called you and said, Steve, I'm thinking about coming or going to this mastermind. What can I do before to get myself ready?
I think just put on your cap of humility, because sometimes as business owners, we already feel like we know it all, or we at least don't want to let other people know that we don't know it all.
Mm-hmm.
So come in with wearing the hat of humility and saying, okay, I'm coming in here open-minded. I'm here to learn. I'm going to take something away from this. So I need to be open-minded and ready to learn something new.
I would agree. That's good advice, especially since the first day we hit you hard with the accountability and the whole structure and recognizing what pattern you're in.
Right.
And this is probably a similar question, but maybe you could just make it even more concise. What would your advice be to anyone considering making the investment?
It's well worth it. It's more than worth it, because the return in my business is going to be much more than what I invested into the program. I just, anybody that is wanting to either grow their business or improve themselves as a business person or as an individual, I don't know that you can really put a price tag on that. I think any opportunity you have to improve in any of those areas of your life, you should take advantage of. It's being involved with a mastermind group like this is so much better than a book or video or a podcast. Those things are important, but when you're in a group with your peers, getting feedback from a coach, from a mentor that's helping facilitate the conversation and stretching your mind or opening you up to new ideas or different perspectives, to me, it's just invaluable. And you can't really put a price tag on that, because these are things that are going to be with me as long as I'm in business. And I think that's going to be years to come. So the sooner somebody can get into something like this and start applying what is being taught and shared, you're talking 20, 30 years for some people that you're going to reap the benefit of this.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your feedback and thank you for your time, Steve.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship as we keep moving forward. If anyone wants more information on how to get in contact with you real fast, because I only got a few minutes here, what's the best way to you have a website, or you have a way to reach out to you?
Actually, if somebody wants to contact me on my cell phone, that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that.
Okay.
So they can call me on my cell phone, 803-381-8086. They can call or text me. We can meet for lunch, whatever they prefer to do, but I'm more than happy to share with them what I've been able to learn from this whole process.
Wonderful. And then, of course, you've been in the insurance industry, and your license is it just South Carolina?
Yes,
okay.
South Carolina.
So anyone that would want us to have an actual conversation with someone that knows something about insurance, feel free to reach out to Steve Price. If you want to know anything about what we're doing at Spencer Combs Resources, of course, you can go to spencercombs.com. Go to the bottom of the page. All of our contact information is there. We'll be happy to serve you in any way that we can. So, all right, let me wrap this up. Thanks again, Steve. And for everybody else out there, I want you guys to keep well and keep moving forward.